Hiya. I've never done a video before, so this is the first time I'm trying this, so bear with me. But what I was wanting to cover was just basically a recap of the boundaries that we were talking about yesterday in the rescuer position, and how to try and not take the rescuer position, which then puts you at risk of burnout and not being assertive and not being able to say no, and knowing when to actually say no. So what we looked at first of all is, I don't know if you'll be able to see that very well, is the drama triangle. And basically this is Stephen Cartman who come up with this in transactional analysis, and it's a really powerful tool to get your head round about and to remember which position that potentially you're taking or somebody else is taking, and remember, try to actively step out of the position of trying or wanting to rescue or feeling the urge to rescue somebody, because healers tend to kind of be drawn into wanting to fix everybody and wanting things to look better for everybody, and see, you can identify problems in somebody's life and how you would have a solution, if you like, for being able to do that. So your work is really valuable in the sense that you can pinpoint different things that could help somebody, but it can work against you and it can work against the other person. Somebody who is in victim mode, for example, has potentially got stuck, right? They don't see solutions to how they can actually, or they feel helpless, they feel more than vulnerable, they feel helpless is probably the best word to use, actually. So what they need is a bit of information, a bit of knowledge, a bit of healing, a bit of something just to help them step up, and that's the role, of course, of the rescuer or the healer. But in order to be able to do that in a way that doesn't negatively impact on yourself and other people, it's useful to know where to draw boundaries and when to say no, or what help can you, or assistance can you actually give. So if somebody's trying to push it further and make you do things, so not take responsibility for their life, your role is to recognise when that's taking place and when to step back from that, or when you're doing it yourself, because we've all done it basically. So this is the drama triangle. So we've got the persecutor, we've got the rescuer, and we've got the victim, and each stage it can bounce round about into each corner. So let me think. The way we would have spoke about it yesterday was that everybody's on their own path and everybody has their own life lessons that they've to learn. That's kind of been set out for the beginning, in my understanding of things anyway. And if we are taking over responsibility of someone else's life, in effect what we're doing is disabling them. We're causing them to not be growing in the way that they could be growing, and moving towards achieving their own potential, gaining self-esteem, gaining strength in themselves. We're disempowering them and we're not allowing them to shine, if you like. It could be that instead of being rescued, you then become enabler, and that's the healthier position to take, rather than the working within the triangle. So the enabler would have maybe a number that could get passed on to somebody who's needing a bit of help, if they're needing like financial advice and you don't really know very much about it, or they're just needing, they're repeating patterns and you can see the patterns repeating. So it could be that you could potentially signpost them to a service that's going to be able to give them advice or information. It could be that they need information in regards to where you're spotting a pattern, and you can just give them that little bit of advice, and that could be enough to just shift the dynamic for them, and where they go, I know what to do now, right? I know how to take this forward now. So that's the kind of the goal to aim for, I suppose, if you like, because in the other triangle, it's called the winner's triangle, and sometimes it's called that, and I don't particularly like that name, but that's the one you would use if you were doing a Google search and you would find out more information about it. So yeah, instead of persecutor, you'd be assertive. If somebody's feeling like somebody else is taking over their life, or they're looking for somebody to take over that bit of their life or whatever, if that doesn't happen and that person doesn't step into that role, there can be anger, there can be frustration, there can be resentment, and that can then cause the person to become a wee bit persecutory, if you like, almost just and lash out which then of course is unhealthy for both sides. So assertiveness is the ideal goal for instead of the persecutor, and rescuer is the ideal goal as enabler, and with victim is vulnerable. So it's vulnerable is completely different from being victim in the sense that it's okay not to know something, it's okay not to have a particular skill, or it's okay sometimes just to feel a bit fearful or a bit worried or whatever else, and it's acknowledging that that's a healthy stance, that's a normal part of the process of life. So if somebody's been vulnerable or you're feeling vulnerable, find get supports in place, right? Get different kind of supports in place for yourself, friendships, family. Know who to go to. Encourage the other person if you can see that happening. Encourage them to strengthen their network. Be there for them, but don't be there for them too much. If you're taking somebody's life lessons away from them, or means of learning, what you're doing again, like I say, is disabling them, and you really don't want to take that role if you can. That's not healthy for either. The other element we looked at, just make sure I've written me notes, so I'm just going to make sure I've not actually missed anything out there. So your boundaries protect you and others. The example we used that somebody else was able to relate to as well, that I personally had kind of thought of, was when I was married to my second husband. He would deal with the car, and he would deal with the sourcing the car, MOT in the car, all to do with that. And I didn't have to deal with anything like that, even though prior to meeting him, I'd quite well managed it, but obviously was a wee bit maybe uncomfortable with that. So our dynamic at that time allowed me to just kind of hand that role over to him. So that was me getting into victim state and saying, oh, I don't want to deal with that, you deal with that. So I wasn't being independent. So when we split up, I had to then take on that role again, and I found it quite uncomfortable for quite a wee while, and I was a wee bit disorientated. I'd almost been de-skilled, if you like. I'd allowed myself to be de-skilled. So that's not a position you really want to get into. I remember a story about a woman who had quite an affluent lifestyle, and what happened was her husband had planned a separate life behind her back. It was very unpleasant for all, and when it came to it, people came to the door to repossess the house. They gave her 20 minutes to pack her bags, and there she was in all her matching beautiful clothes, her matching luggage, and she was in a homeless accommodation with zero skills, basically, very disorientated and didn't know where to start. And I always encourage people never to allow themselves to get into that kind of position where you are de-skilled to the point where you would find life very, very difficult to manage once you, if you ever find yourself in a different position. Always be prepared for and take on all the aspects of the responsibility within your life, just to give you confidence and assurance that no matter what goes wrong, you'll be able to bounce your way through it. So that's emotional resilience, that's mental resilience, and that's definitely the route that I would encourage people to look at and see, if they can get themselves in as strong a position as possible to manage life as an individual, should whatever circumstances, because circumstances do happen. So the other bit we looked at was parent, adult and child, which I'll put here. Right, that's, maybe it doesn't make an awful lot of sense, but just looking at it like that, unless you're aware of this. But you've got parent, who the parent role is there for when there's parent, adult and child, and each role plays a different aspect, like a nurturing parent and an authoritative parent. Authoritative parent, critical parent, you'd probably find you'll be able to identify circumstances where somebody has actually taken that role. It could be a boss or whatever else, and you've felt like a child in a lot of circumstances where the critical parent is looking down on the child. And it's, although they're adults, this is a dynamic that's quite a familiar one with people who feel disempowered by a particular management style. So that's quite a useful one to master as well, and understand a bit more about, and how to not slip into child state if someone is behaving in that way and makes a comment, a critical comment, not to fall back into being the child. So ideally you would want to get yourself into adult state where you can manage and divert that conversation back and cut it off basically, so that you don't feel disempowered and at a disadvantage and weaker. You are going to maintain the adult position, and that's rational, it's knowledgeable. So if for example, if another example that we did speak about during the day was if somebody was in child state and they're having a moan for talking's sake about the boss, oh, never done that, I was doing this, I was doing that. If you click with that conversation, the transaction works, the conversation will work, but both people will come away feeling a bit yuck, right? Because it's not pleasant. Ideally, if you can recognise that's happening, go into adult state, not parent state, adult state, and possibly put in some rational reasons as to why that person, that boss, may be acting in that particular way. That helps that person, A, understand things in a better way, but B, it also can pull them out of child mode as well and possibly pull them into adult mode, and that's a healthier interaction to be having. So that's just a wee quick introduction to the drama triangle, the dynamics that take place in relationships, how you can put yourself into a stronger position and allow other people to also come into a stronger position where they're feeling more empowered as opposed to disempowered. Because if you're rescuing and you're here, that person's automatically there, right? Because you're looking at the victim and you're behaving in a way as if you know more. You can help this person because of the need to be needed or whatever drive it is. It's just recognising it within yourself or others and how to help shift that roundabout. I hope that's been helpful, and hopefully it'll spark off an interest in maybe exploring it a bit further. I definitely plan to do a full day workshop on this and other aspects that come into it, and of course each day would be completely different because the dynamics of the people that's there, the conversations that take place, the understandings overall. So I think that would be quite an exciting day. But well, once I get dates and things booked, then I'll be able to put that out as well. So right, bye for just now.